Well, having been created by God, the Bible says they were actually crafted in his image. You know what that means? At the very least, they're worthy of dignity. They're worthy of dignity in God's eyes. They ought to be worthy of dignity in ours. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think. We're doing a lot of thinking this morning. It's a sermon about thinking. Think about somebody you have a difficult relationship with. Probably not hard. Maybe it's simple, maybe it's profound. Coworker, family member, teammate. Think about someone you have a difficult relationship with. Again, that's the context here, so that's why we're doing this. Now, ask yourself, again, we're just going to do a little mental inventory, spiritual mental inventory. And working your way right through verse 8, first of all, ask yourself, what is true about that person? Well, I can tell you what's true about them. At the very least, they were made by God. They have an eternal soul. That soul is going to spend eternity either in heaven with Jesus or in hell apart from him. I know that much is true. What's honorable about that person? You might say, not much. Well, having been created by God, the Bible says they were actually crafted in his image. You know what that means? At the very least, they're worthy of dignity. They're worthy of dignity in God's eyes. They ought to be worthy of dignity in ours. I have no right to just go around tearing them down and tearing them up. I don't. What's just? Perhaps you think, well, that's the problem. They have behaved unjustly. They have dealt unfairly and wrongly with me. That may be so. But if you think about it, whether that person has or hasn't behaved in a just fashion, maybe that's the sort of the conflict. Just thinking would say there's reasons that they're behaving that way. Not excuses. I'm not talking about excuses. I'm not saying it's okay to behave unjustly. It's okay to be a jerk or to be unkind or to be underhand. I'm not excusing anyone's bad behavior. But you know it's true in their life because you know it's true in yours. There are reasons they behave that way. There's something broken inside. They've been wounded or hurt or misled or deceived. And there's stuff in there, you don't know anything about it. And we so easily write people off. We write people up. We put them in a box. You don't know. I don't know. Just thinking says, there's more to the story here. And maybe I need to seek it out. What's pure? Well, that turns it back to my heart. What do I really want here with this person? Do I want peace or do I want revenge? Do I want peace or do I just want an opportunity to shut them up? What do I really want? That's a hard question. Whatever's pure. What's lovely? How do I think in a lovely way about an unlovely person? Well, again, sometimes you have to go to the very, very basics. I may not like them. I certainly might not love them, but God does. And he has a wonderful plan for their life every bit as much as he had one for mine. What's commendable? How do I think in a commendable way? Well, maybe the nature of your relationship, your awareness of this person would allow you to reach back in the memory bank and recall something good. Something good you once heard them say, saw them do. You said, it wouldn't last long, it wasn't much, but it's there, there's something. Something I can think about or remember. You know, back before things went sideways, that was pretty cool. That was pretty great. And then Paul says, there are a couple of different ways to read this. I tend to read it. I don't know if this is right or wrong. I tend to read the last part of verse 8 as sort of a, kind of the last, we're going to just, the basket to catch everything else. He says, if there is anything excellent, if there's anything worthy of praise, I mean, you got to dig down deep. But if you can come up with any excellent thing, any praiseworthy thing, anything God calls to mind, hang on to it. And ask God to make you mindful of it going forward. Literally, Paul says, when he says, think about these things, he says, continually think about these things. The word talks about churning them over, processing them in your mind, really thinking it through. Now, here's the value of an exercise like that. For one, it's biblical, but here's the value of it. Say you've got that person in mind and you've just gone through that inventory and you've done your best to get through it. At that point, has anything been fixed? No. Has anything been solved? No. Have you even had a conversation with them? No. Nothing in the real world, the practical world, has changed. But here's the question. Don't you think that cultivating that kind of a mindset could do a lot more to bring peace than whatever you and I would come up by our own, on our own, in our own wisdom? And I think I know how to solve problems all the time. I think if I ran it through this filter, God would give me very different solutions than I come up with, and better ones as well. Don't you think this kind of thought life gives peace a chance? Well, why? It does, and the reason